Okay, welcome guys. It has been a minute since we've done a video, and we got our 450 kind of disassembled here. We got the tank off, sitting next to the bike. And today's project's going to be to drill out the intake plate here, a little more air in, and then install our FuelX Pro Plus. We are not sponsored in any way by anyone, especially not Rainier, but it is Friday, my friends, so I'm hoping whatever you're drinking is cold. The purpose of this thing is to just change the fuel mixture a little bit. You can read about them. It's basically a lambda system module that tricks the lambda sensor to dump in a little more fuel. And they advertise 25% horsepower gains at partial throttle, and I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at partial throttle, the addition of a little bit of fuel, especially with modifications like a mid-pipe and an intake, produce a lot bit more horsepower. And what we're going for here is not turning it into a different kind of motorcycle. It's still going to be a 40 horsepower bike, but what it's going to do is produce more of that 40 horsepower at partial throttle, which is where, honestly, that's where you're spending almost all your riding. Most people aren't doing full throttle rips all the time. Especially if you're off-road, technical riding, you're going to be using partial throttle. So that's our goal here. So we're going to do those two things first, plate and the module itself. And then we've got AEW mid-pipe on our way from Delhi. It's the same one that Fuzzy Biker has on his. And I like it because it's one of the ones that retains a really nice bracket for our center stand. Some of the you'd see it on this side. Some of the ones you see for the mid-pipe installs, they'll actually, I don't even know what guys are doing. They're just riding without a bracket there. And so the AEW setup comes with a nice bracket to hold your center stand when it's in its retracted position. So, gonna go ahead and get started. And we've already got our tank off. So now the next thing is going to be I'm just going to pull this whole module out, and then we'll get to drilling this. All right, so to do this, it's pretty simple. You got 3 bolts here, and I have the cover off because we're going to drill it. And you're going to have to disconnect your ECU stuff here, right? That's right on the throttle body. And then there'll be this one. I'm going to take off a hose. Goes here, a little clamp. Loosen this guy on the throttle body. And then there's going to be a couple of hoses on the bottom that we're going to get as we pull it up. But your goal is to remove this whole thing as one piece. So show you that in just a second. Okay, so this is partially out, and I want to show you this because there's a couple guys made some videos where they're accessing some of the things from the bottom, and they're talking about how difficult it is. Here's the sequence. You want to loosen and take off these 3 bolts holding it on. You want to take off your connector to your ECU. Take off this little guy here. Pop that off. And leave that bottom stuff connected for now. Scoot it to the side so you can get to this guy here. Okay? And then when you've done all that, you'll see it kind of comes out. Oh, and then, oops, forgot one thing. Loosen this guy right here. Just loosen it. It's just a rubber plenum that attaches the intake manifold and the throttle body, to the neck here. Once you've done all that, the part that's closest to the rider, this end of it, is going to kind of come loose, and then you can get to this other stuff down here a lot easier, and you can just get it to it from the top. So that's how I do it. It shouldn't take you more than about 5 minutes to get this thing off. You know, if you're watching these videos and guys are saying, oh, it's an hour of work and it's a big pain, and it's really not. Just go slow, disconnect the things, be careful as you're removing stuff, and it should go fine for you. Okay, so once you get the bottom parts disconnected here, take the ground off here, and unplug the bottom here from the coil, you can get to where the lambda sensor plug is, and really all you're doing is you're disconnecting this is the stock, and this is the stock, and all we're doing is we're connecting them to the 2 connectors provided in the kit. So it's a male and a female, and it basically just splices those two. And then you can use zip ties to secure this as the wiring harness goes. Disconnecting these power and ground things allows us to just set the airbox to the side. We don't actually even need to pull the whole airbox off, as some guys do. You can just access the lambda sensor there. This is the hose that guys are saying is really difficult to put back on. It's not if you do it this way and come at it from the front. It's honestly a pretty simple gig. So anyway, you can get familiar with pulling this thing off anyway. It's how you're going to get to your spark plug and everything else if you're doing your valve adjusts. So another thing I kind of wanted to point out too was in some of the videos, you look at some Instagram posts, and I think that by now with the DNA filter and plates out, guys are not so concerned about it. But there has been some people saying that if you drill the intake plate, cut the stock plate, I'll show you here. If you cut the stock plate to allow some more air in here, that the air would be going into into the filter, and they're looking down, right? They're looking down at this when you pull the filter out. They're looking down at this hole that you see. It looks like a hole, right? The hole in the bottom of the intake manifold, which of course comes out here. This is your air intake. So how this works, fundamentally, when guys think that drilling this out, drilling this out is going to cause unfiltered air to enter the engine, they don't really understand how the flow of air functions in these. So air is going to come in from the bottom down here. It's you basically pulling in air from behind the radiator there, and it pulls in from the bottom up and then is trapped in the filter. And as the intake is opened, this is your intake where it's actually the throttle body, right? That's your throttle body, and that's where the air goes into the engine. A vacuum is created in this thing, which then pulls air from inside here through the filter and into the engine. So drilling this plate, as long as you're not, compromising this wall here, this cylinder-shaped wall, which goes into the filter, if you're just drilling out this, cutting out this, you're just making a DNA-type filter plate to work with a stock air filter. More air will come in the top. More air, air comes in the bottom. As the vacuum increases, it's going to bring in more air through the holes, and then they get filtered through the filter into the engine. So again, as long as this cylinder-shaped wall on the plate is not damaged and it's making a good seal with the inside of your filter, you're not getting unfiltered air. You will bring in more air, right? And you will have an opening at the top. So if you were to get, cross a river or something that's going over the intake, yeah, you could get some air sucked or water sucked in there, but you'd have to be really going through some deep water to do that. I think to the point where you've long submerged this. It's not going to be an issue. It's going to bring in more air. It's going to function fine. Lots of guys have lots of miles with the DNA filter plates. So if you're like me and you'd like to have a little bit better filtration, a little bit better air, but you'd also like your stock filtration with the paper filter, I would just stick with that. And that's what we're going to do. So we've got our harness here connected for the FuelX, and we're going to run it back and mount the unit now. So I'll show you that. All right, so we got our cables routed, and just wanted to show you how I did it, how I approached it, and maybe give you a couple of tips if you're doing this for the first time. My background is automotive technician work, so before I was kind of made the career change, I did about a decade as a flat rate auto tech, and so this is kind of what I picked up in that time. Whenever you're doing an install on anything that's going to move, you need to make sure you leave enough slack on the thing that needs to move. So on a motorcycle, on a handlebar, anything, this is going to mean lock to lock. So if I'm turning the motorcycle, my loom there is going to be able to move and has enough slack, and it's using the factory retainer, which is point 2, route your cables where the factory routes the cable. So I'm coming down here, utilizing the factory clip there, coming onto the inside, factory band here, coming down, zip tie to another electrical cable, snake around, and we're going to go down, coming out here. Again, zip tied to factory electrical components. We'll go under this plate, and here is where the kind of aftermarket stuff that you're going to really see it. So this is, a lot of this is aftermarket. This is a battery lead, but I'm coming out here and I'm just following to one side, and this is where all the connectors are for the module. On the other side, excuse me, this is the module connector and this is the handlebar connector, but they're routed. Okay, same way underneath, utilizing factory spots as much as possible. And then when you have your under seat configuration here, you pull this off, you're going to see wires. Okay, charger, fuse. I had this one is a fuse for a fast charger that I have in the tank bag. When you're doing anything under here, aftermarket wise, just look at your configuration and think it out. You still need to be able to access all your relays. You still need to be able to access any kind of connecting ports. You want to be able to access later on, if the bike needs to be serviced, people can actually get to bolts and things like that. If you go through that thought process, you'll probably select a configuration for your wires that whether it's the most beautiful thing in the world or not, it's going to be really functional, it's going to be secure. Clip your zip ties as you go. You know, I used to always tell myself that, like, you're a technician, right? Not a hack. Hacks leave zip ties all over the place if they use them at all. They route wires every which way. They're not following factory conduiting. So just do it in a way that follows logic, and your install is going to be pretty good. It's going to be just fine. And our module here, this is the actual FuelX itself. It sits on top of the battery. Guys have asked before what lithium ion I use. That's it. See, NLP14, NOCO. So now that this is all done, the wiring's all finished, we're going to go ahead and put the intake manifold back on and drill out that plate, and then put her all back together and see how she runs with the FuelX. Then we'll do a battery reset and a complete ECU reset later on when the mid pipe comes in, but this will get it rideable for the weekend. All right, so we got our air filter back installed, and this is our DIY DNA filter cover. So see, got all this drilled out, cut, let a little more air in. Functions exactly the same as the DNA filter, but well, as you can see, it still has a really good bite on the stock filter. So a lot of people, like I said, they don't really realize the air comes in from the bottom, so it's not a straight shot into the throttle body like a lot of people have been saying on kind of the misinformed threads on Instagram. This is absolutely not letting unfiltered air into the engine. It's just allowing a little more air into the filter by allowing it in from the top as well. So I'm going to sand this a little bit more, clean it up, and then get the screws back in. And then let's go ahead and fire it up with the FuelX. See how she does. All right, let's get the bike out of the shop, and everything looks good. This is kind of what it looks like when we're all said and done here. We have our loom installed. It's nice and clean. Tank's back on the bike. This wire right here just is something that I made that goes into my tank bag, so it runs up here and it actually powers a different little box that has a couple high-speed USB-C chargers and other things on it. So it's not part of the installation, but so you can see, turning our key on here, our FuelX LEDs, what they'll do is they'll flash the map you're on. So if I go down one, it's on 5 now. So I'll click it once and we're going to get that 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We're on map 4. Map 3 is default, closest to factory settings, and then there's 10 different settings you can do. And it maps it up here. So go back to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And we're good to go. So running nice. And it's got a nice growl to it now. You just, a little bit of throttle. Doesn't really sound that much different, but the open intake plate got a real good growl to it when you get on it. So, everything seems to be good. I'm going to go take it for a ride. Next up is going to be the straight pipe here, and then we'll do some experimenting to see which map works best with that. But we're going to leave it at that. It'll be intake, a little bit more open intake plate, so DIY intake there, and then the AEW or AWE, I forget the name. It's the one that Fuzzy Biker has on one of his brands mid pipe, and we got that because it, again, as I mentioned earlier, it has a good bracket to hold the center stand, and then the FuelX. So other than that, there's really not going to be any performance modifications to the motorcycle. I think that's going to do, it's going to do just fine. What we're looking for with this, the whole point of it was to give us a little bit more power and smoothness in the partial throttle application of the bike, which is really what the FuelX is advertised to do. Is it really helps your partial throttle operation by giving yourself a little bit more fuel in there, richening up that mixture, especially if you use, you know, different modifications. And as always, look at the laws in your own areas and make your own decisions about what you want to do as far as FuelX stuff goes. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. We're going to go ahead and take it for a test ride. Whatever you guys are working on this weekend, I hope it goes well. Whatever you're drinking, I hope it's cold. And this has been the FuelX video. Have an awesome night, guys.